It's on. It's on.
Oh, it's on. Hello, testing. It does work, doesn't it? Welcome to the Right Bridge event for our journal. And we're going to get started in just 2 or 3 minutes. So everybody come in and get settled, get a drink if you'd like, and we'll get started in just a bit.
Yes. Hello, nice to see you. Great job, Vicky. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's our signature artist.
That's yours?
Yes.
Oh, that's lovely.
You want to start here? Actually, you're reading pretty near the top. Who else do we need? Oh, Dan, you want to come up? Oh, and Sue Kids, please. If you would come up and sit at the table, and you guys are in our first group of readers. Are you just gonna want me to start then? Good, 'cause I don't want to.
Well, a couple of housekeeping points before we get started. There are drinks over here on the left, water and other refreshments. And there are our keynote authors have their books over here at the table, so make sure to go up and introduce yourselves to them, and after the event or in between if we have a little break. Restrooms are back here, and I think that's all. And our wonderful host is Will Haynes here at Watkins Museum, and I'd like to give a hand to him for all of his wonderful efforts. Thank you, Will. We appreciate this wonderful place to have this event. And I'd also like to thank, right up front, the cover artist for our beautiful journal. Did somebody? Is this not gorgeous? Marcine Felt. Thanks so much, Marcine Felt. And we also have several wonderful artists who have contributed to the journal, and we have 2 of them here today. The other artist who is here today is Barbara Waterman-Peters, who is in our audience. Barbara. Kent Smith also contributed art work to the journal, as did Bobby Lynn Powell, who is the artist of Conlon Sinclair's new YA book, fairy tale book. So if you want to see more of her artwork, you can take a look at Conlon's book. And Kathy Martin is a mixed media artist who also contributed to the journal. So those are the artists in the journal. And we have, each of us has a list of the contributors to the journal inside here, so we'll introduce them as we get to it. So I'm just going to start with a brief introduction. and then I turn this over to Amber. My name's Maureen Carroll, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Anamcara Press here in Lawrence, Kansas. And this is our 8th journal, journal, Right Bridge Journal. The topic is ideals and illusions. The ideal is the standard by which we judge things, from circles to sunrises to people. It is unchanging perfection of the highest order. We inheritors of Platonic thinking understand the ideal is something we can aspire to, but never achieve. We can create only flawed imitations of the ideal. The ideal song, book, or marriage does not exist. Perfection is just a shadow on the wall for mere mortals. This is because the ideal abides in a different reality, one that is eternal, perfect, and unchanging. And our reality is fleeting, flawed, and fluid, right? So as a writer, I think it's important to acknowledge the illusion of believing you can reach the ideal. I don't mean to say you should not strive for the ideal, but without giving a nod to your limitations, you might spin your wheels, fool yourself into thinking you can create the ideal. It is what keeps us from moving on to the next project. It's what keeps us endlessly editing. Anybody stuck endlessly editing? It's worse, it is why we dropped those thoughts and dreams into a drawer years ago and never pulled them back out. We knew consciously or unconsciously we would never reach the ideal, and we gave up. I'm struggling with this now as I want to finish the last chapter of my book, and I just can't get it quite right. There's a Navajo Dene weaving tradition that provides a great solution for our stalwart striving for the ideal. They weave a mistake into the blanket, knowing there will be no perfect blankets. Where the mistake is woven is where the bad juju comes out, releasing the desire for perfection, and that prevents forward motion. Now that's my interpretation. The people call this a spirit line or a weaver's path. It's a deliberate flaw, and a weaver will start from the center and work their way out, making a thin line or a small break in the border pattern of the blanket. They believe it provides a path for the spirit of the weaver to exit once the weaving is complete. Without it, the weaver's soul might remain trapped in the work. And I've known a few writers who have been trapped in the work. Have you? Like Plato, Navajo weavers acknowledge that perfection lies beyond human creation and belongs to the realm of the divine. The Navajo spirit line is a gesture of respect. In their view, beauty includes imperfection, because life itself is imperfect. And it is with this understanding that we offer the 8th edition of the Right Bridge Journal. Articles, poems, and stories and plays included in this journal demonstrate the power of ideals and illusions to compel us to act or to refrain from taking action. They urge us toward or away from our aspirations. In some way, our ideals seem to drive our illusions. We want a perfect family, so we struggle with what to say. Or we seek a perfect relationship, and we fall victim to scammers, another form of illusion. Peg Nichols calls it pranking. She and others write humorously about being tricked or seeing others fooled by our own imaginings. Part of where humor comes from is from tomfoolery. Illusions are not always funny, though, as they can easily turn into deceptions. We might even deliberately choose the illusion, rejecting the ideal. Like a teenager flipping off authority, author Kathy Roberts describes how some illusions soothe like poison. And the biggest illusions are those we perpetuate upon ourselves. The contributing authors express both our striving for our ideals and our falling victim to our illusions, seriously and humorously, in this edition of The Right Bridge. As poet Annette Hope Billings reminds us, life has no perforated edges. So, for all of you creative types, consider building a little flaw into your creation. just a small place to let you exit when the work is complete. And with that, I would like to introduce the assistant editor of Anamcara Press, Amber Fraley, is the author of the college coming-of-age novel, The Bug Diary, and the viral essay, Gen X Will Not Go Quietly, as well as her recent essay collection, Kansas Gen X Essential, and numerous essays and articles for Kansas Magazine, Lawrence Times, and others. Amber loves Kansas with all of her heart, and admits she is awkward in public and desperately wishes to see a tornado and live to tell the tale. Please help me welcome Amber Fraley.
Thank you, Maggie. That was very nice. I am here to introduce our keynote speakers for the essay section of the Right Bridge. What is it? Ideals and Illusions. Two authors, actually, Jessie Scott and Carrie Alt. They have this book coming out from Anamcara Press, but one of the chapters in here really spoke to the illusions and ideals, I thought, theme of the Right Bridge, which is why one of the chapters is included in this edition. So You Can't Get Rid of Me is a memoir about Jesse's life, and his dear friend Carrie helped him write it. And so this book came about because I am friends with Carrie's mother, and she knew that I had published the book, and Carrie read my book, and so then Carrie said, well, I have a book, and I'm looking for a publisher, what do I do? And so I contacted Carrie, and I said, well, I work through Anamcara Press, and I gave her Anamcara Press's information. She sent the manuscript to Anamcara. Mickey got the manuscript, read it. I hadn't even read it. And she called me and said, I really like your friend's book. I'm going to send it to you and see what you think. So she sent it to me, and I read it, and it absolutely blew up my mind. So we've all felt the feeling, the horrible feeling, right, of feeling left out, different, not part of the group, not included. And this book touches on that, but it doesn't just touch on that, it delves deep into that theme. And I think that's why I connected so strongly with this book. Anybody who's struggled or felt differently can connect and identify with this book. This book touches on every issue from mental health to being a gay kid, in the 60s and 70s, which I cannot even imagine how hard that would have been. It touches on the themes of adoption, institutionalization, the foster system, addiction, and even when Jesse finds his roots, because this book is about his not just his childhood, but his search for who he really is, because he's an adopted child. When he finds those roots, this story also becomes about race. I mean, it touches on basically every topic you can think of. Any one of these issues is difficult for any human being to deal with. This human being has dealt with all of them, and he's here sitting with us today. And not only is he sitting here with us today, he became a person who went out and helped other people. He became a social worker and an HIV worker, and he helped other people work through their issues. And that's why this book really just blew up my mind. It's a difficult read, but it's still it's an engaging read. You won't want to put this down until you're done, until you get to the end. The ending is unbelievable to see how this human being has triumphed over all of his adversity that he's had to overcome. I guess that's all I have to say about that. Is that enough?
Okay, I'll tip you later.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So with all of that, I hope you enjoy this reading of the chapter from this book from Jessie. Oh, and Carrie, sorry. Carrie is is also the writer of this book. This is Jesse's life, but his very good friend Carrie helped him put these words down on paper. And without her, we wouldn't have this all to share it with everyone. And so I'm so thankful for you as well. Anyway, with that, Jesse's gonna read a chapter from.
I think Carrie's gonna.
Oh, Carrie's gonna talk. No,
For a
it's
second.
I'll make it super quick.
okay.
Amber's like the best hype person ever, right? I just wanted to explain really quickly. So I'm a Topeka girl, grew up here, went to school here, then moved away to Portland, Oregon. Met Jesse in 1997. We've stayed friends ever since. We were working in the AIDS organization together. In 2016, a big thing happened with him around finding his birth family. And as he told me what had happened, it really just brought so much like relief and joy and hope into my life, hearing his story. And we both agreed that it would probably do that if other people heard his story. And so we embarked on this project together, which included me interviewing everybody in his life, hours and hours of interviewing with Jesse, and then writing this in first person. In terms of this theme, ideals and illusions, wow, yeah, right. I mean, I'm a social worker. I thought, oh, it'll just be like an expanded mental health assessment. No, it's been years. It's been a lot, and I'm just super pleased to be here and to share this with you guys. So yeah, Jesse's gonna read a little bit about the day he meets his birth mother and first meet.
Thank you, Carrie. And Amber. And thank you to the Wright Bridge for including my chapter in their journal. I really appreciated that. I'm honored to be in it. I was 57 years old when I finally, through Ancestry.com, found my biological mother. And this was the day that I went to see her. So we pull up in front of Donna's home, and I hate to say it's the worst street in the neighborhood, but it is the worst street in the neighborhood. I take another deep breath. Part of me wants to run inside yelling, I'm here, I'm here. And another part of me feels like I need to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes. I'm relieved when my new sibling, Albert, asks if we mind if we have a cigarette before going in. I was very relieved. It hadn't occurred to me that he might be nervous too. The door is opened by three kids who are standing there staring with their big eyes right at us. The oldest one turns around and yells, they're here! The small hallway feels like it's filled with people immediately, but I realize it's just us and all these children. Albert introduces me to the kids and they reach out their hand to shake mine. A young woman comes down the stairs. This is Jocelyn, my niece, their mother. Albert reminds me that Jocelyn is Pugin's daughter. Pugin was one of my brothers. And he lets me know that Jocelyn is legally deaf, but can read some lips. I hold out my arms for a big hug, and she shyly gives me a squeeze. The house is crammed with furniture, piles of laundry, and people. I look down the hall to see the kitchen and see my mother sitting at the table. She's smoking a cigarette, and she has her phone on the table. I make my way into the small room. Hi, Donna. Oh, hi. I'm immediately disappointed and floored by her indifference. I ask if I can give her a big hug. Well, sure you can, son. It's nice to finally see you. She doesn't get up, so I lean down and we awkwardly embrace. I have to be honest, it's not what I was expecting. She's definitely not beaming, and if anything, she seems a little put off by the whole experience. Maybe she's overwhelmed. I know I am. The other people there are all talking at once, and the kids are starting to bicker, and I'm trying to have this moment I've waited for forever, and part of me wants to yell at everyone to shut up. And the other part of me wants to close my eyes and be back in Palm Springs. There's another part of me that wants to close my eyes and be back in Palm Springs, but also just to crawl under the table with this woman and ask if this is is this finally happening? I asked if I can sit, and she gestured toward the chair across from her. I remember that I brought some costume jewelry that my adopted mother had left to me when she died to hand out, and asked if she would like to pick something out. She shrugs, looks at it for a while, and tells me that I can pick something out for her. I find a necklace with matching earrings that I think will complement her style, which I'm not really quite clear about, but I say it anyway. I mean, she's 82 years old, but she definitely isn't dressed in the same conservative manner as my mother. I try to make a big deal out of telling her it's the best quality of all the items I have to offer. She thanks me, but then shows me the necklace she is wearing. It contains a tiny amount of another sibling's ashes. Duke. I can't compete with that, and I can tell myself how dumb I am for thinking in those terms. I try not to react as I spy the cockroaches scurrying across the kitchen floor. It reminds me of my days of living in the single-room occupancies in downtown Portland. I guess I assumed she'd be in a more comfortable place by now. We talk for about an hour, and I tell her that my brother Lee and Rosa are flying in tomorrow. I ask if she would like to stay in my hotel room with me, as there are 2 beds, and I feel like it might be easier to having her there than to drive back and forth from this part of town. Well, okay, son, that might be nice. I can't remember the last time I stayed in a hotel. So Jocelyn agrees to pack a bag for her, and Albert looks a little shocked that I'm even making the suggestion. I'm kind of shocked at myself, but I feel it might help us really spend some time together. Maybe my years of being a caregiver are showing, because when Jocelyn packs some Depends in her bag, I don't even flinch. I can definitely sense some tension between Albert and Donna in the car on the way home to the hotel. I try to make small talk and ask about Jocelyn's kids, life in Philly in general, and the plans for the party that Albert is throwing us. He tells us that he's got the whole thing covered and that we should just plan on showing up the day after tomorrow in the early afternoon. Honey, his wife, tells us that she and her mom had been cooking for days, and I think I see Donna roll her eyes. Okay, here we go. Well, that makes a little bit more sense to me. I guess she's got pride. After being in both Donna and Albert's houses, it makes sense why Albert is hosting the big get-together, but I understand that this might sting for Donna. I'm trying to figure out what I should call her. Donna seems too casual, like we're pals or something. Mom doesn't feel right either, at least not yet. In my head, I'm calling her Mom Donna, because my own mother is the person I call Mom. So far, I've gotten away with not calling her anything to her face. Maybe I should calm down and realize I'm only about 4 hours into this thing, and then some of this stuff will work out by itself. We all have a cigarette outside the hotel room, and I carry Donna's bag in. She immediately chooses the bed closest to the bathroom. She looks around, and even though I warned her that it wasn't fancy, I think she seems a little disappointed. We end up watching TV and ordering pizza. That night I try to sleep, but Donna's snoring and my racing mind, it's really difficult. There's a time difference too, so I give up on any plan of trying to sleep and slip out of my room about 2 a.m. and call John, my partner. He's trying to be sweet and acting like he's interested in hearing all about these new people. He lets me go on and then quietly asks me, "Are you okay?" I take a breath in between puffs on my cigarette. I'm okay, but my head is swimming. I'm glad I'm here. It's a lot, but I'm okay. I can't decide if I feel more relaxed with my brother Lee and Rosa coming here, or if that'll make it worse. I decide that it'll be better and that I can worry about that later. I go back to the room and somehow manage to drift off for a little bit before Donna wakes me up to ask where she can get a cup of coffee. I admit I was a little nervous about Lee's rough edges. Lee's my brother. but to be honest, Mom and Donna seemed more comfortable around him. It was as if his rough edges helped her out to be a little bit more easy. Rosa is a social worker who inspects nursing homes and is used to talking to older people she doesn't know. Even though I know she's still really depressed, she has rallied for this trip and is even more chatty than I am. And so that helped us all start talking. We held up our glasses of beer and made a little toast. And at one point, Rosa pulled out her phone to take a photo. Lee rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, here we go." He and Donna looked at each other and said something obscene, and then both of them looked right at the camera and flipped the bird, cackling together. They both have their long black hair in a ponytail, and besides Lee's goatee and knuckle tattoos, they look very similar. The expression on both their faces is one of joy, and I'm so relieved that Lee didn't experience the same reception that I had from Donna. I'm telling myself that is because I spent this time with her and she's more comfortable. But I think that anyone who looked at the two of them could instantly tell they are related. I don't say this out loud, but I wonder deep down inside of me if maybe Lee's dad is different from my own. Lee and Rosa have a room in the same hotel, and we decided to go back and hang out the rest of the day. We all have a cigarette outside before getting in the car, and my mom's eyes light up. And when I hand over 4 packs of smokes that I brought for her, she was so thrilled. My sister Christina and her husband, Mike, had driven down from New York. Again, more new siblings. And they plan on coming by the hotel to meet us. Christina is Albert's younger sister and is the person that I've had the most contact with on the phone besides Albert and my mom. Donna warns us that Christina's husband may try to talk to us about religion, and we all agree that he might have a hard sell in this crowd, but we also agree we'll be polite. I'm so relieved when I meet Christina and she's enthusiastic about meeting us, immediately running up to me and Lee and giving us hugs. "Hey, big brothers, my gosh, this is exciting." She talks a mile a minute and she immediately starts teasing Donna about how these handsome men that she's been hiding from the rest of us. All at one point she asked us where her husband Mike and Rosa are. Where's Mike and Rosa? And we realized they're in Lee's room. When I go knock on the door, Rosa gives me a look that says, "Oh, thank God." And Mike has been preaching the gospel. I don't have a sense about him yet, so I don't know whether I can tease him about it or not. Albert has been texting me all day about the party and about what's going on. And he even stopped by briefly to meet Lee, who everyone is calling Joe, short for Jose, which was his biological first name. He kept shaking his head and looking back and forth between Lee and Donna, just like everybody else, in amazement. Mom Donna has been telling us about how she met each of the men who are fathers to her kids. She met her first child's dad, Pedro, on Burnside Street in Portland, and when she was a teenager. She tells us that she left baby Pete with someone in the single room occupancy while she was out working. She's very vague about it, but I think that's when he was removed from her care. Next thing, she's talking about being in Klamath Falls, Oregon, staying with Pedro's family. She tells me that Pedro, my dad, had a brother named Jesus, who maybe I'm named after. She and Lee, or Jose, and somehow the two of us ended up at the Boys and Girls Aid Society. I tried to remember what I learned from staying with my Aunt Luann, but then I had to stop, pay attention to the dates and details, and listen to the stories. I also wonder again if Lee and I actually have the same dad. I pass for white most of the time, but of the two of us, I'm the one who really looks like I have some Latin blood. Lee has always been blonde. I definitely don't bring this up. I wonder if, when we find Pete, will he look a little bit like me? I guess I wouldn't be the oldest anymore. We hear about how she met Bernard Hill, who was Pukin and Duke's dad, and he was in the Air Force and was wearing a nice jacket. Donna told us that they were in a bar where a fight broke out. Donna's shirt was ripped in bustle of the chaos, and she gave her his jacket. The next time she saw him in that same bar, he came up to her and reminded her that she had his jacket. It doesn't seem like that smooth of a line to me, but apparently it worked. Because she ended up staying with him for some time. She tells me she knew her family wouldn't let her come home with babies from a black man. So I ended up following him north to Seattle, she says, and then to Philly. But the couple separated when Donna was pregnant with Walina. She had also already had Lisa, or Linda. Again, she doesn't tell us who ended up raising those kids. We all take turns going outside to smoke, and we're shaking our heads about these crazy stories, even though we don't say it out loud. There is an unspoken agreement not to push Donna into telling us why she gave us up, or why her other kids grew up in other homes beside hers. Instead, we focus on how proud she is of still being considered their mom, and as long as she has someone to pay attention to her stories, she's not shy. We also haven't asked her what she did to look for us, or about this fake photo of her missing kids. That night I realized that although it's still a little odd to be sharing a room with this woman that I've just met, I am exhausted and I fall off to sleep. I don't realize how much tension my body had been holding, wondering how this was all going down. I think I was so busy worrying about the ways that it could be awful that I'm starting to realize the ways this could actually be pretty amazing. While it's not that instant connection I felt with my Aunt Luann, it's not the lifetime of mothering that I had from my adopted mom. This is something totally different. I haven't quite settled into it yet, and neither has she, but it's feeling better. Definitely better than it was when it was like to be searching, I think. I'm going to turn it back over to Amber.
Oh, okay. Next up, we have the one play in this edition of The Right Bridge. Tasha? Oh, Tasha, you're right there. I'm looking up there, but you're right there. So, yes. And Tasha's got to get going for a play that your daughter is in, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So welcome, Tasha.
Thank you. Stand this far away. Yeah, sorry, I have to leave after this because her play starts at 7 o'clock. But, so I'm sorry to miss everyone else. Thank you, Mickey, wherever you are, for the opportunity to be published in this magazine, and thank you for supporting local literature. It's awesome. So some of you may recognize this subject matter. I think all of you will, actually. I've been surprised at how little the subject has been discussed in the arts in recent years. So this play is my attempt to process what happened to the whole world a few years ago. It's called Safe, a play in one act. And I'm just going to read, there's 6 characters. I'm just going to read, all the parts and leave out most of the stage directions. So the cast is Jenny, married to Jeff, Iris, married to Isaac. Iris has cat eye glasses and a hipster dress. Isaac, also a hipster. Pia is Colombian with a heavy Spanish accent, which I'm not going to do, my actor will have to do. And she is recently married to Trevor. All characters are in their late 20s or early 30s. Scene 1. Iris and Isaac, bearing potluck dishes and beer, enter Jenny and Jeff's house. Iris, oh my God, it's you. Jenny, oh my God, it's you. Jenny instinctively moves to hug her, but Iris steps back. Jenny retreats, standing awkwardly 6 feet from Iris. They mime hugging. Iris, I've missed you. Jenny, I've missed you. You look awesome. New glasses? Meh, you cut off all your hair. Jenny, I had to do it myself, of course. I think it turned out okay. Iris, definitely. It's good to see you guys. Jeff and Isaac, also keeping a distance, self-parodying, mime shaking hands and slapping backs. Pia and Trevor enter. Pia with a bottle of wine. Everyone but Pia. Hey! Nearly shouting, hyper-enthusiastically. All stand in a circle, unnaturally distant, self-consciously adjusting their positions incrementally, moving away from one person to find they've moved closer to another on the other side. Nervous laughter as they all notice this. The men and women drift apart in separate circles. The women, stage right, mime talking as the men converse. Isaac, so how the hell are you guys? It's been like about 1,000,000 years. Jeff, seems like. Trevor, yeah, man, and a whole new world. Isaac, I literally have not seen anyone but Iris in person in 3 years. Jeff, are you crazy? Isaac, have you? Jeff, we've seen Jenny's parents, her sister. I mean, we were safe. Don't rat us out. Isaac, yeah, that's totally against the law. Jeff, we were safe. Isaac, I get it, man. It's hard. It's hard on all of us. I just hope you were. This thing is deadly, and it's not just about you. Jeff, I said we were safe. Isaac, dude, it's cool. It's great to see you guys. I'm glad we've all made it through. Trevor, nobody likes this, but I guess we have to live with it. Isaac, it's the only way we can live. I mean, this is like permanent now. Jeff, at least they're letting us get together now. Maybe they'll let up on other restrictions someday too. Isaac, did you hear they're testing personal screens now? They've already been approved in Japan. They reduced transmission by like 15%. Trevor, no kidding? That's great news. I still hold out hope I'll get to hug my mom again someday. Jeff, 15%? Isaac, it's better than nothing. Jeff, yeah, but at what cost? Trevor, well, that's the question about all of it, isn't it? Isaac, would you rather be dead? Trevor, agreeably, almost clownish, trying to keep the peace. Rhetorical question. Jeff, focused on Isaac. I mean, how do they work? Isaac, the screens? Oh, they're minimally invasive. You can still see the other person or an image of the other person, and you can hear them too, almost as good as if there was nothing there. Though I guess there can be some distortion, maybe an echo. I saw a YouTube about them. They're actually really cool. They literally sterilize the space around you in a 6-foot circumference. And yes, Trevor, they'll let us hug you. Jeff, through plastic? Isaac, no, man, they work just like the sky thing. You know how it repels the virus from entering our atmosphere by emitting sound waves on a frequency, sound waves or something on a frequency the virus doesn't like? Jeff snorts, rolls his eyes. I mean, in layman's terms, clearly I'm not a scientist. Jeff, clearly you're not. Isaac, the screens work the same way. Your mom's hug might not feel the same, but you won't know it. It's like a virtual hug, but the sensation is real. Jeff, so your mom's hugging an image of your body, but not your actual body? How can that be remotely satisfying? Trevor, can we just start drinking beer like we used to? How about them Chiefs? Isaac, to Jeff, think force field. Jeff, what Chiefs? Trevor, yeah, that's a loss for sure. The men pass around beer bottles while trying to maintain 6 feet apart and avoid touching. Isaac squirts hand sanitizer from a miniature bottle in his pocket on his hands after taking a beer from Jeff. They mime drinking and talking, stage left, as the women begin to talk. Jenny, so no baby yet? Iris, with the way things are, they won't even deliver you in a hospital now. It's all home births, without a midwife even, and that freaking terrifies me. Jenny, well, there are virtual midwives. Jenny starts to reach out to touch Pia's arm, then stops herself, remembering. So how was the wedding? Pia, you know, small. Iris, so were your parents allowed? Pia, no, but they zoomed in, the priest too. It was external, strange. Honestly, I hated it. Iris, but it had to be that way. Pia, Yes, of course. We had to be safe. Jenny, it's just so sad. So it was just you and Trevor? Pia, yes, in our dark living room. They wouldn't even let us go into the garden. That was the week they found the virus in rainwater. Iris, oh yeah, that was terrifying, and it rained all spring. Isaac and I didn't go outside for like months after that. Jenny, are you kidding me? Iris, what? It wasn't safe. Jenny, months? Iris, yeah, months. We're responsible people. Our neighbors are elderly. Our other neighbors had a newborn. It's better than being dead, or God forbid, killing someone else. Jenny, it's just hard to believe rain can be that dangerous. Jeff, overhearing their conversation, he turns. Are you talking about the rain? Iris, yeah, when they found it in the rain? Jeff, you know that was based on a flawed study. Isaac, what are you talking about? It was fucking NASA that found it. Jeff, yeah, NASA later admitted they really had no way to study raindrops on a large enough scale to draw any conclusions. Of course there are going to be DNA fragments of a virus that's been circulating the last 3 years in the air, the water, everything. That doesn't mean raindrops transmit it. What a bunch of horse shit. Iris, Jeff, I don't think, Isaac, don't engage with him, honey. He's a virus skeptic. Jeff, ha, name calling now, are we? It was a flawed study. Show me the proof. Isaac and Jeff turn back to their circle and debate silently with vigorous gestures. Jenny, just whatever. Jeff's very opinionated on this issue. Of course you're right to be careful. Iris, and not just for ourselves. Jenny, right. It's just, covers her face with her hands. Starts to cry. We've lost so much. And how much longer is it going to go on? Pia, I think it's going to be a while, Jenny. Iris, not a while. It's forever. It's permanent. We just have to get used to living like this. At least we can get together now. Jenny, but concerts. Remember we used to go to concerts, bars, parties, movie theaters, hugs, stars for God's sake. I just want to see the stars again. Iris, looking off stage out the imagined window. You can see the stars right now. It's almost dark. They should be on now. Jenny, the real stars. Iris, well, if it keeps us safe, I'm not going to complain. Pia, dreamily with Spanish accent. I remember the stars over the Andes when I was growing up. You don't have stars like that here in America. You never have. Billions, trillions, my God, who knows how many stars. And the black, black sky behind them. It looked like a blanket made of black velvet covered with tiny sparkling diamonds. I'll never forget those stars. Jenny, that sounds amazing. And they're blocked out forever now. Iris, don't be so gloom and doom. We're here, we're together again. This should be a celebration. Jenny, you're right, Iris. It's so good to see both of you. God, I have so much to tell you. Pia, okay, are we drinking or what? I brought a Cabernet from my grandfather's vineyard. Jenny reaches in the cabinet for wine glasses. She gets only 2. Oh, Colombia must be so beautiful. Pia, it is. I don't know if I'll ever get to go back. Jenny turns on music on her phone. Upbeat rock music plays while the women stand in the kitchen. They pour the wine and sip it, Jenny conspicuously declining. Though their dialogue can't be heard, the awkwardness of trying to pour and distribute wine glasses while remaining 6 feet apart and not touching should be obvious to the audience. Iris, you're not drinking? Jenny, no, Iris, you're not. Jenny, I am. Iris, a home birth, unassisted? Are you crazy? That's not safe at all. Jenny, calm down, Iris. Jeff says he can do it. He's been watching so many YouTubes. He's practically a doctor by now. And I'm looking for a midwife who will zoom in. They're out there. The women exit stage left. Music fades out. Jeff, hey, let's go outside. I want to show you the deck I built. Isaac, you build a deck? Jeff, I had to do something. You can learn anything on YouTube. Trevor, totally. I do our plumbing, carpentry, electrical intimidates me, but I'm considering it. It's better than some guy coming in your house and contaminating it. The men exit stage right, a beat, then they return to stage. They stand in the imagined backyard, looking up at the sky. Trevor, pretty clear tonight. Isaac, yeah, Not much static tonight. Humidity causes that, but they're working on it. They'll get it smoothed out, I'm sure. Trevor, you really can't tell the difference. Jeff, no, you can't tell at all. They drink their beers, gazing up, 6 feet apart. Curtain.
Thank you. Did you want to say something about you?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you. One thing I love about this is the way different writers interpret the theme, right? Ideals and illusions. And Jesse's essay is called Mom Donna. One of the reasons we chose that chapter for this issue was because every adopted kid has ideals and illusions about their adopted parents before they meet them.
They're biological.
Biological, sorry. Yes, thank you. So up next is Sue Kidd, and she will be reading from her husband's book, Nature Walking with Cancer, which it's full of really inspirational essays about living with cancer and how to live with cancer and not despair. Is that fair to say? Okay, but I think the essay we chose to go in this issue, you didn't want to read that one.
Right.
You thought it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So you wanted to do a different one. That's fine.
Good.
So, Sue Kidd.
It's like, oh, you don't want to do that? Well, how about you do that? That works. Good. I chose cattails. And if you look over here, there's some cattails. Because to me, it's just more interesting. Fog is one. So, yeah, cattails. And the what is this called? Subtitle? Yes, that's good. Thank you. Is reuniting the human spirit with the soul of nature, which is really what he was about. That was his purpose in life, was to reunite the human spirit with nature. Rebel high schoolers. There's a side story for why I like taking a particular route on my walk. It's the one I walked after cancer surgery, flat route with a ditch filled with cattails, located about a midpoint in the walk. Early on, Sue often accompanied me on my walks in case I took a fall and I couldn't get up. So the two of us would occasionally stop and watch the sway of the cattails in the ditch. Or we'd cross the road to see if there were any geese or red-winged blackbirds or muskrats working the cattail-lined retention pond on the other side of the road, the thin place that I refer to as Pond 2. The ditch is the drain from my Pond 2, feeding into the sewer system that eventually empties into the Kaw River several miles north. The ditch and the pond offer a wonderful meditative respite for my walking, and a chance to catch my breath and to get my legs back under me. But the real reason I have a personal affinity for this particular walking route is it's inhabited by a tribe of young rebels, my kind of people. Where my route turns south, if you go north instead, you'll be at Lawrence Free State High School parking lot. Walk across the school's parking lot, and you'll meet up with my walking route, which follows this little ditch, perhaps 50 yards in length, the wetlands where the cattails grow. The rebels. On warm days, there's often a small gathering of high schoolers sitting on the bridge structures hidden from the sidewalk and the roadway. Rumor has it that they're a clan of dropouts, kids that doing just enough to get through school, but with no passion for any part of schooling, or for that matter, for life in general. It seems the school's administration has given up on them. Face to face, they're what you'd expect, fiercely conforming to nonconformity. Hair styled with unique cuts and dyed in wild colors, and their clothes from a decade or two back. Each rebel has some sort of smoke in hand. At first they ignore Sue and I, and they keep to their lively chatterings as we pass. Later they smile, say their howdies and their have a good days, and then they go back to their community enclave. They're always courteous, respectfully, and outwardly happy, especially when we keep on walking. I go calling. One day, walking along, I decide that I'll go calling. And so I edge myself off to the stability of the sidewalk, onto a steep slope path of mud and trampled weeds, holding on as I go around a brick structure, and I say, "Howdy, guys. How's it going? My name's Randy, and I pass here this way often. Thought I'd stop by and say howdy." Lots of suspicious looks and a few of downright alarm, some hiding of smokes behind backs, and a few undercurrent of burning weed in the air. I ask, "I've been wondering, what kind of critters do you see down there in those cattails?" Long pause. And then a girl with blue hair says, "Used to be a muskrat that would swim around down there, but he hasn't been around for quite a while." Well, how cool is that, I say, knowing how cool it is that she could tell a muskrat from a beaver or an otter, or from a whale for that matter. "How about red-winged blackbirds?" I asked. "Maybe defending their territories?" About a week ago, I'd watched a half dozen or so redwings across the road, boosting their "this is my territory" calls, chunkaree, chunkaree, and flitting from one cattail to another, and then strutting their fluffed wing colors from atop the cattail cobs. But the cattail patch over there is much more extensive than it surrounds by Pond 2, a fairly nice-sized pond. "No," from the more pensive one, with half a head of crew cut and the other half is a brush of bright orange. "But there's a red-tailed hawk that hangs out in the trees by the school. We see him almost every day. He's pretty cool." Well, hot damn, I'm thinking. They noticed my favorite correspondence bird. "Hey," I say, "be sure to talk nice to my friend, the hawk. We're best of buddies, you know. And if you talk to him nice enough, he may just give you a tip or two that'll help you make the day a better one for you. Y'all have a good day." As I walk away, I carry with me a load of feeling a whole lot better about my dropout rebel kids. Once again, I hear the refrain in my head. The kids are going to be all right. Bamboozled by cattails. Nature has this strange habit of sneaking up on you and overwhelming each and every one of your many senses, sometimes all of them at once. It's like being bamboozled by the goddess of bamboozlement. Nature is not a cheapskate with her bamboozling either. Offerings are provided at frequent and unexpected intervals nearly every day. Bam! There's another one. Being bamboozled by nature is also free of charge. All you need to do is stop, look, learn, listen, and respect. But you do need to do all those four. I had one of those bamboozling moments on my walk the other day, a balmy November Saturday with a sharp breeze out of the south. I picked the route where I'd met the rebels a few weeks back. I hadn't been on this route for several days, even though it's one of my favorites. Turning the corner into the south wind and suddenly face to face with the noontime sun, the air was filled with a profusion of tiny dancing flakes, each glowing with its own glint of sunshine, the dance of little goldish white sunflakes. Personalized are of gold around each one of them, the sun in my eyes and the highlighted the whiteness of the flakes. I'm disoriented more than usual, discombobulated more than usual, and filled with awe. For a moment, I think of the cancer fog that got me, taken more than just my breath away, and I'm floating through the Milky Way of my final death dance. I want to fall to my knees, but I know that my cancer-wobbled legs would not let me be able to lift me upright again. The possibility of the flakes might be blowing dust, or maybe even snow crosses my chemo mind. And finally, I wonder about the sudden birthing of a cloud of lecherous little gnats, all with their poisonous stingers poised to get me. From the spiritual to the sublime to the outright scary, all these what-ifs passed within seconds. And after I noticed that the stability of body on concrete, I can concentrate on my mind the real cause of the flutterings. A closer look reveals that the little white thingies are seed parachutes, flaking off the cattails that live in the ditch that runs along the sidewalk, not more than 20 foot away. Nothing but common cattail seeds, nothing more, nothing less. But what a sight. I've been bamboozled by all of these, I've been bamboozled by one of the most common of our plants, cattails. My, but wouldn't this be something if my rebel kids could see? Could appreciate the wonder of it all? Perhaps be awestruck, or maybe even gobsmacked enough that they would want to reconnect with nature. If not with the school and with the people who left them behind. Last words. But this was Saturday. The rebels had scattered to ports unknown. It's a shame they were not here to see the reality that nature has to offer. It's a shame because even with the modern miracles of the entire library on every laptop device, even with the cinematic screen at every home's living room wall, and even with the small screen view box and recording camera in every pocket, you can't really capture the astonishment nor the sublime of nature. To capture the true reality of nature's essence, you need to sit still, in stillness, listen with an open heart, and conscientiously open every pore of your body, none of which is possible without receiving communion at the altar of artificial reality. So it is with a wistful heart that I captured the cattail display here today, all by myself. Cattails naturally. In a short moment of nature's bamboozling, I have been treated to the birthing of thousands of seeds, each one of them coming from the womb of a brown cattail cob the size of a sausage. And if you look at the cattails over there, you'll see what we're describing. Each of them floating on the winds of its own cottony thin sail. Those who have counted say there are 200 to 300,000 seeds per cob. And apparently all the cattails had decided to give birth that day, just as I was walking by. In addition to all the swirling flakes of cotton in the air, huge white clumps of seed flakes remained behind, still clinging to the mama plants. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around all how those seeds can come from the tiny little spikes of a cattail womb. But cattails are one of the most common plants that we see almost everywhere, even when there's a spit of water for them to stand in. Being one of our most common plants was given the cattail the opportunity to work itself into our food pantries and into the lives in many other ways, while at the same time providing food, shelter, and nesting sites for the host of wild critters. All parts of the cattail are edible, from the roots to the young shoots, to the growing leaves of the cobs, or to the pollen on the cobs. All you need to do to feast on a cattail is to know which part is palatable during what part of the year. The roots, the rhizomes, are edible pretty much year-round, eaten by gnawing them like you would a radish. Young shoots are like asparagus, with a bit more cooking needed to make them edible. Young stems can be eaten raw or boiled, and the lower parts of the leaves can be used in salads. The young flowers can be boiled, covered in butter, and eaten like corn on the cob. In midsummer, the yellow pollen taken from the male flowers can be added to pancakes or mixed with flour to make delicious bread. Cattail root systems are known for their ability to remove metal and other pollutants from water, but the plant also has a medicinal value for people, including antiseptic properties to treat wounds, burns, stings, and bruises. Finally, cattail is being studied as a possible aid for cancer prevention. But you don't have to eat the cattail to use it as medicine to enjoy its functionality. Temporary housing and floor mats can be made by weaving the durable leaves together. The caps can be coated with grease or lye and lit to make torches. And the cottony seeds have been used as insulation or padding. Save some of the pods, and some of the cotton stays dry to make good starter for starting fires. And it's not just for us humans that the cattail is useful. Animals of all ilk, birds, muskrats, turtles, snakes, and fish use them for housing, protection, and feeding areas for food. Last words. My days of foraging in the wilds have been ousted with the incoming winds of cancer. All those rebels that I met a few days back, I'm thinking they could learn a lot from cattail. Give them a shoot at making floor mats or torches. Let them taste the year-round bounty of cattail after learning when they pick it and how to fix it, of course. And for those interested, have them keep track of all the critters that move in and out of the cattails during 1 year season. And all the while, you'll be working in nature, learning from nature. They would be reaping the many proven benefits of being outdoors. For the life of me, I can't think of a better way than to help the next generation reunite its human spirit with the soul of nature. It wouldn't need to be everyone either. Not everyone wants to be attuned to nature. But I'm thinking, if we could just get 12 rebels who want to learn from nature, that would be enough. Just 12 rebels, and the baton could be passed on to the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Up next is Dan Magengast. My Failed Religious Training, I believe is the name of this essay, and I love Dan's wry, dry sense of humor.
First of all, thank you so much for putting out this magazine and hosting these events. If you're interested in other things I've written, I do have a Substack, and Daniel Magengast Substack on your computer. So, my failed religious training. I'm told I was baptized as an infant in the Dalton Presbyterian Church. I can't remember it though. Once I was diaper trained, or trained away from diapers, I began attending Sunday school in the church annex, which was a cinder block building built by the farmers in the church. My dad was one. I do recall being an angel in the Christmas pageant. We were trotted out with little wire halos, kind of glittering halos, and coached through a halting and wildly distracted version of Away in the Manger, which brought the house down. This was followed relentlessly, Sunday school after relentless Sunday school after relentless Sunday school, with a Bible story education, plus a week of Bible school in the summer. I have a cloisonne attendance pin with little cloisonne attendance ribbons attached by chains, which hang down 2 to 3 inches. I really don't have occasion to wear it on my chest much, but it is kind of like a military decoration. Well, 60 years after getting that change and after writing this, I have the occasion, and there it is.
That's beautiful.
I think I'm gonna have this pin on my chest on my deathbed. Or maybe some judging going on after, you know. Anyway. As soon as I left home, my church going days were finished for almost 15 years, aside from an occasional Christmas Eve or an invite to Passover. My father was raised Catholic and had gone to rural Catholic school in Nebraska as a child. His distaste for the nuns who taught him led him to leave the church forever. My mother was raised as a Southern Baptist in Arkansas, but she also never latched on. I guess my lack of fervor is multi-generational. I would never criticize anyone for their faith, that is, unless it leads them to do evil in the world. And the occasions to do that has indeed arisen. When I arrived at the more Islamic regions of West Africa, I spent many years there, I found that I could readily share biblical stories with Muslims. And they knew who Jesus was and admired him. Many Arabic Islamic names are cognates of Bible names: Abraham, Ibrahim, Adam and Eve, Adam and Hawa. Around smoldering fires at night, we could tell each other Old Testament stories. When I went to work for Church World Service in Senegal, I was asked if I wanted to become a missionary for the Presbyterian Church during my service. I had met several missionaries in Africa, primarily from the US and Ireland during my time, and I will maybe write about that at some point. Medical missionaries were doing good work. I found many evangelical missionaries to be disruptive and dismissive of the cultures they were working in, but I'm sure not all are like that. In Islamic countries, I was always invited to mosque and to pray with people when asking for rain, etc. And I politely did so. And I would mimic the prayers as honestly I would do in American churches. I just was trying to show respect for people's religious beliefs. And I do not deny those beliefs, which I deem personal to them. I also realize that churches and mosques are social glue of a type. They often guard against disruptive behavior, and they try to raise up the generations coming along with rules that safeguard against violence, greed, destructive sexual impulses. In many ways, religious institutions serve as nurturing communities in which to raise and protect children. On the other hand, I don't think it can be denied that, like all human institutions, they often can be used and exploited by self-centered and narcissistic individuals with a will to power, to feed destructive appetites, or a twisted desire to inflict punishment on others as a means to consolidate their own power. Religion has always been fertile ground for scandal, and a figure like Martin Luther was rare as he tried to punch up. Talking about Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, but it's true Martin Luther King too. But all too often, religious movements and devotions are exploited to punch down on the less powerful. I find an inability to see that as pretty willful inability. So I was working for Church World Service, and I found it and its activities to be generally compatible with my worldview, and the staff strove to be in the world the gentle, unifying force that they imagined Jesus to have been. And at any rate, converting Muslims or animists was never expected of me. When I returned to the US, I continued to work for Church World Service, organizing hunger walks around the state of Kansas, lining up grain gifts for farmers for overseas famine relief. I traveled around the state working with almost all the denominations in their shared concern for the hungry. It is not necessarily an equally shared concern amongst those denominations, but it exists, and in the non-Christian religious communities as well. It made me realize that a lot of people are in church pews or at the mosque or are there for the community, and some of the doctrine is the thing that needs to be professed in order to remain in good standing in that community. That peculiar human proclivity is not confined to religion. I find that people who want to be part of a political party often have to profess things that absolutely contradict their observations, inclinations, and life experiences. I once gave a slideshow about sub-Saharan Africa to a group of Orman Mennonites. They're just excellent people. They dress plain. They have the biggest tractors and the nicest Hondas you've ever seen. Anyway, I was giving a talk, a slideshow, and I noted some mid-Sahara petroglyphs that indicate that the desert was substantially wetter about 18,000 years ago. I thought nothing of it, but a friend who I'd been working with on gathering grain came up to me after and said, "You know, we believe the world is about 4,000 to 6,000 years old. How long ago did you say that rock art was Nate, I cringed and said, scientists think about 18,000 years ago. He grinned and said, oh, I guess we can live with that. So dogma was agreed to, but not necessarily believed by everybody in the pew. After Lynn and I married, and when our first child came along, we joined a Mennonite church in Topeka. This was in a time of strife in the Near East, of all places. And a goodly part of our reckoning was that by joining a peace church, with Mennonite churches considered such, we could offer our children an easier get out of war free card, should the draft be reinstituted. Plus, I thought the kids should learn Bible stories so that they would have something to talk about with Muslim kids one day. We had not realized that we were joining a group of warm, caring families who would help raise our children as caring adults. We had not realized that a group of these families would become our closest friends, who would share life's joys and perils and milestones. We had not realized that these Mennonite families would not overly concern themselves with what we believed or where we would be spending eternity. And so we joined that community, or at least we're hangers on, while never professing our faith. While members of the church had been so for many generations, pretty typical Mennonites, many generations in the church, we newcomers were always welcome, and I don't think we alone in the pews were the only non-believers. Our kids grew up, we moved away. Our Sunday mornings are mellow and slow now. We maintain our church friendships. I have known people of several faiths, many of whom I would trust to raise my children as well as I did. Some I feel could have done a much better job. I believe that when I die, I will be accepted back into the same earth from which I rose. The earth will have a good and productive use for me without subjecting me to an eternity of wire music or hellfire.
What better subject for ideals and illusions than religion, right? I love that. I love that you found community with your church. So I'm the last essayist, I think. Yes. Okay. Except no, I'm not, because Mickey's going to read Liz Kopp's piece.
I'm gonna save it for the end.
Oh, you are? Okay. We're going to move on to the fiction after that, but and then the poets. Okay. So this is called Making Peace with the Wizard of Oz. My first memory of watching The Wizard of Oz is a brief flash in my mind, lying on our 1970s gold velvet couch, watching Dorothy's gray house get sucked up into the sepia tornado. I was lying down because I'd had a hard day of playing, and I was only 4. I didn't really understand the movie I was watching, but somehow I knew it was important. Kansas wasn't yet a concept for me, and my family was living in Tennessee at the time. That same year, though, we moved back to Kansas, the state where my parents were born, as well as the 4 previous generations, the place from which all our people hailed. Like the annual arrival of Easter, the special movie came to television in the spring of every year, and we never missed it. Because in our house, as in many Kansas homes, it was treated like an event. It's Wizard of Oz time again, get the popcorn. I'll probably go to my grave knowing there's a commercial break after the cowardly lion runs and jumps through the window of the wizard's palace, shattering the glass. When you're from Kansas, you're far more aware of this movie in daily life than your average American. Even though 90% of the movie doesn't even take place in Kansas, Kansas and the Wizard of Oz are inextricably linked. For one thing, it's about the only thing people know to associate with Kansas. There used to be a time many Americans knew Kansas as the largest producer of wheat in the United States because they were familiar with the phrases breadbasket of America or wheat state. But no one knows those sayings anymore, and lots of people from outside of Kansas seem to think Kansas grows a lot of corn. I found many city dwellers assume anything growing in a field is corn. However, corn is Kansas's second largest row crop, while Iowa is the top producer of corn in the US. Sure, some people think of the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Chiefs are a Missouri team. Kansas City is one of those cities that straddles 2 states. And most of the fun stuff, of course, is in Missouri. Yes, I know they are actually 2 cities, but around here we don't really treat them as such. Often the only tangible idea of Kansas other Americans have to grab onto is the film The Wizard of Oz. When you're from Kansas and you leave Kansas, you will hear Wizard of Oz comments. How's Toto, people ask, chuckling to themselves as though they're the first to think of it. Or if you're female, they'll ask, "Are you Dorothy?" It gets old. At least when you're in your teens and 20s and 30s, and things like that are annoying. Now that I'm in my 40s, now 50s actually, I've made peace with The Wizard of Oz. When I was 4, and for many years thereafter, I would be completely sucked into the wonderful world of Oz, buying every second of it. Now that I'm older, I can see the backgrounds are clearly matte paintings, and every scene is obviously filmed on studio stages. But that's not how I saw it as a kid. As a kid, Oz the movie might as well have been made with high-tech computer graphics. I bought it completely. Okay, maybe not the shiny plastic flowers in Munchkin Land. I wasn't a total idiot. I watched The Wizard of Oz again recently, and I was struck by how good the actors are and how fun it is to listen to their charming mid-Atlantic accents, which is the name for that haughty, almost British accent early American actors used. Think Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. No hot? Dorothy and the Coward Lion ask the Tin Man when he tells them the tinsmith created him without a heart. No hot, he sighs. Lovely. Curious, I looked up the 3 guys who play the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, who also play the farmhands Hunk, Hickory, and Zeke, whose real names were Ray Bolger, Jack Haley, and Burt Lair. They were all vaudeville stage actors before transitioning to movies. Frank Morgan, who played the bumbling wizard and shifty Professor Marvel, started out acting in silent films of the early 1900s. So these were all people who knew their craft well and had devoted their lives to it. I was also struck by how young Judy Garland was. You just don't think about that kind of stuff when you're a kid. Anyone who's in a movie must necessarily be older and more important than you. But she was only 17 years old when she worked on The Wizard of Oz. She's so young that her voice is young, and for a lack of a better word, pure. It's clear and unadulterated, which makes it all the more heartbreaking if you know anything about her life. I won't go into the details, but Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer movie studio used every bit of that poor woman's body and soul and then threw her out like trash when she couldn't make movies anymore. She self-destructed in a pit of despair, booze, and pills. She died at the age of 47. As I watched it, I wondered for a moment why no one has tried to remake The Wizard of Oz. I hope no one does. And I think it might be one movie that's simply too iconic to touch. I can't even begin to fathom a cast that can compete talent-wise with the original. And I don't even think CGI could recreate the magic we all conjure in ourselves when we watch the original. There's nothing out there remotely like it. There's no other movie to even compare it to. It's an institution unto itself. In parentheses, writer, actor, and director Kenya Barris has been talking about doing a reimagining of the film since 2022 now. We'll see. Because I've watched this film my whole life and accepted it as much a part of my life's mythos as Santa Claus, there were many specifics I never really considered as a kid. But when you think about it, Oz is an unusual movie because the protagonist is a little girl. We can hardly get girl protagonists in movies these days, but Oz came out in 1939. Not only that, but she's a little girl who kills the villain. I mean, sure, it's all a dream, so technically she doesn't kill the witch. But I don't think I really understood that as a kid. I thought that somehow Dorothy's dream was real, and in fact, in the original Oz books by L. Frank Baum, Oz is a real place that Dorothy visits more than once. The Wizard of Oz is so unusual, so rare, so weird, that these days I proudly associate my state with the film. Woo! In fact, Kansas is a lot like the movie, in my opinion. Sure, we look boring and black and white from the outside, but there are a few fascinating gems to be found here, and even a fair amount of weirdness. You just have to know where to look. That's me. Thank you. Here comes Mickey.
I'm gonna have to switch out again. We're kind of doing this like high school choir. So can I get Lisa Roberts, Colin Sinclair, Iris Craver, and Julianne Baker Bryn to come up? We'll have 2 more sections and then we'll be done.
Do you care where we sit?
Nope. And Sue Kidd brought these wonderful cattails. So I have to show them off because they're real and they're beautiful and they fit.
Somebody can take them home.
There you go. You want to put these in a vase?
Right.
I think gorgeous. So I hope you will admit, like I am, that these are some amazing submissions. Just really wonderful. So we have a few fiction authors that are here today, and I'm going to read Louis Kopp's piece at the end if we have time. So Louis was an artist and an author here in Lawrence, Kansas, and he recently passed. And he has left a mark on Kansas that is indelible. If you drive anywhere in Lawrence, you will see his artwork. It's on 9th Street, it's on Massachusetts Street, and it's in our hearts. So I challenge you to look up louiscops.com and see his incredible, beautiful artwork. You want to say something?
He's got his show at the Cider Gallery tonight, too.
And his show is at the Cider Gallery tonight. So when you're done here, there's still time to go to that. There will be in July a memorial service for him at Cider Gallery as well. And I put that on our website, and I'll send that out to people as well. So I'll read his piece at the end if we can. In addition to being an incredible artist, he was a really fun author. Has anybody heard of the book, Cows Are Freaky When You Look at Them? Well, he was a contributor. And he contributed the most fun story in the entire book. I'm not going to tell you about it. I challenge you to take a look at it yourself. So I want to introduce our first fiction writer here this evening. Second fiction writer, because we also had Tasha. So originally hailing from mountainous Colorado, Colin Sinclair was raised by a sci-fi fangirl grandmother who let him read her collection of fantastical and mystery fiction as a teenager. These stories have since been much of the inspiration for his own work, writing fantastical tales for both children and adults. He is currently studying to become a science teacher. In his newly released YA book, Young Robin Hood, English and Scottish Fairy Tales of Francis James Child, Colin retells timeless stories of romance, adventure, and ancient lore. Please help me welcome Colin Sinclair.
Thank you so much. I'm Colin Sinclair. This is my new book, Young Robin Hood. I'm going to read you one of the more interesting pieces from it, and but first I want to say a few words about the fact that this is, or not this, but Francis James Child is really all there is of a truly Scottish folklore. What inspired me to write this story is I was writing a fantasy story, high fantasy. I wanted it to be Scottish inspired. So I wanted to find something that was truly Scottish. And there are two things you'll come across in terms of Scottish mythology. There's the stuff in the Highlands that comes from Ireland, and there's the stuff from the borders. And the stories from the borders are unique. There's nothing like them almost anywhere else in the world. There are stories that are a mix of Irish, Welsh, Norse, Saxon influences that came together in a very specific culture and created some of the most fantastic fantasy stories that you're likely to encounter out there, and nobody knows about them. We don't grow up reading Scottish stories. We grow up in America reading Greek stories. We grow up reading Perseus and Hercules. And myself, my family is from Scotland and Ireland too, but mostly from Scotland. And it was important to me to write down, especially for kids, something that they've never heard before, something that comes from a culture that they're not likely to encounter much of. With that out of the way, I would like to read Kemp Owen, which is an amazing story because it is one of the few stories about the Knights of the Round Table, which is specific to Scotland. It is not Welsh, it is not English. And here we go. Ossel was a beautiful maiden. She was kind and smart and was loved by almost everyone in the village. One day, she accidentally knocked her wicked stepmother into a cold river, and for this crime, she was cursed to be turned into a scary-looking dragon who was nothing like the girl she really was. The only way to break the curse was if Ossel was kissed 3 times by Sir Owen, one of the famous Knights of the Round Table. But Sir Owen lived across the river from Ossel's village, and there seemed no way she would ever turn back into a beautiful girl. Ossel did not give up, however, because she knew eventually Sir Owen would cross the river and they would meet. Knights usually fought dragons. Once Sir Owen heard about a dragon in the woods, he would certainly come to her village from across the river. So Ossel decided to work out a plan for how to get Sir Owen to kiss her 3 times. Indeed, the next week, Sir Owen crossed the river in his boat and walked into the forest where the dragon was said to live. He found her with her body wrapped around a huge tree, waiting for him to arrive. "Brave knight, I have something which you might want. I will give it to you if you will kiss me. I have a magic ring which protects its owner against all sickness." Ossel held out the ring to Sir Owen. The knight really didn't want to kiss the dragon, but the ring would come in handy. So he carefully came over and kissed Ossel once in the nose. "Brave knight, that's not all I have. I also have this magic belt, which protects its owner against breaking any bones, and I will give it to you if you kiss me." Sir Owen still didn't want to kiss the dragon, but since she didn't bite him the first time, he carefully leaned forward and gave Ossel another kiss on the nose. "Brave knight, I have one more thing which you might like. A magic sword which will win any sword fight no matter what. I will give it to you if you kiss me." Sir Owen still really didn't want to go around kissing dragons, but he also technical difficulties, really wanted that sword. So he leaned in and gave Ossel one last kiss on the nose. Suddenly, on that third kiss, Ossel once again became a beautiful maiden and was no longer a dragon or scary in the least. She thanked Sir Owen for freeing her from the curse. Sir Owen was amazed, and he was angry that someone would curse a beautiful girl and turn her into such a scary dragon. He asked, "Who did this to you? Was it a werewolf or a mermaid or some evil witch who lives in the village?" Ossel said it was her stepmother, who had punished her for knocking her out of a boat and into the river. So Sir Owen put on the magic ring and the magic belt and grabbed a magic sword and chased Ossel's stepmother out of the village, telling her never to return as long as Arthur was king of Britain, for he would be watching. Thank you so much.
Fairy tales for adults and children, right? Our next reader is Lisa Roberts, and nurse and public health administrator for 44 years, retired to care for her granddaughter, and with her noose at her side and in her arms, she began writing again. Her poetry was published by a national women's magazine while in nursing school, but over the years, her priorities shifted. She grew her career in public health, raised her daughter, managed a home and a house full of pets, in addition to competing as a runner, swimmer, and triathlete. Lisa writes poetry and essays through a prism of humor and an understanding of human nature and the natural world. Her current project is a novel about a marathon runner who goes missing. Lisa and her spouse, Rick Beadle, live in Lawrence. Welcome, Lisa.
Well, thank you so much. My muses are in the back here, so. In elementary school, I received really poor grades in 2 categories: deportment and handwriting. You know, I talked too much, and I did not like following those dot dash cursive outlines. So in 4th grade, a very smart teacher introduced me to writing your stories, and I grew quieter. Later, I was introduced to speech, journalism, and creative writing, and I was in pure bliss. Unfortunately, I lived in a small town, and I really wanted to have some kind of earning capacity. So I graduated, as she mentioned, with a bachelor's degree in nursing and worked for 40 years, and now I am a retired nurse, and I'm back to writing stories. This one is called Home. It sits on a corner lot. Its architecture reflects a prescriptive design, a new house, unoccupied for 5 years. Strollers push and wagons pull past this house, heading to the park. Dogs walk in heat and wind and snow, waste scooped up from an apathetic yard. Only rumors explain this lonely landmark. It deteriorates. Blades disappear from the patio fan. It dangles crookedly from its base. The outdoor fireplace hemorrhages dirty insulation from its broken frame. Snowy, funnel-shaped bindweed flowers choke glossy-leaved bushes. Rain gutters empty into deepening ruts. A for sale placard appears, an SOS signal or defeat. Homes thrum with the din of visitors, laughter of family and friends, raucous noise of holidays, crabby children fighting and shouting, all that pushing and shoving and noise contained. Homes witnesses who we've been and who we've become. New babies, old dog, an office sanctuary, a door to slam, shielding tears when love leaves, dreams perish. They lull us to sleep with settling sighs, aging creaks and moans. They occupy us, upkeep calming our restless souls. Living out of a house, look around into the void you've created. It may gasp at you, urging you back. Shed tears, your gut may clench. Is this the right decision? Your brain registers emptiness, the ceiling, the lights, the blank walls. There's that carpet stain. He trembled up on his 4 paws, barely able to stand. It was time. A bedroom painted dove beige, and against your better judgment, a floral border. Parts of you occupy this emptiness. Close and lock the door, pack your memories. Doubt and regret may ring back, clattering like a drop pot. A new house cannot be responsible for your grievances. Refuge, solace, and liberation may come quickly or achingly slow. First, reside, then live anew. At the corner house, healthy boxwoods are weeded and mulched.
They usher visitors to the front door. An SUV sporting a nubby-tired bicycle on its rack is in the garage. A lush lawn is neatly edged and mulched trees added to the backyard. There's a new ceiling fan and a teakwood settee and a chair on the patio. An elderly man, his legs crossed at the ankles, sits in the teakwood chair, reading in the comfort of his home.
We're going to segue into poetry, and I would like to introduce Iris Craver. Iris Craver has been a long-term, not just poet, but poetry initiator in Lawrence, Kansas. So she initiated me. I'm going to blame her for it. She drugged me to the Douglas County Jail. Yes, I was locked up because of Iris Craver. I'm not joking. Once a week for 5 years, I was locked up behind bars. Of course, I did it voluntarily because she was doing a writing class at the Douglas County Jail. She also taught writing at the Halfway House here in Lawrence, which is the First Step House, and she did the women's prison. One of the most impactful literary and theatrical performances of my life occurred at the Topeka prison because of Iris Craver. So Iris Craver is living a life in North Lawrence, Kansas, between the tracks and the river. She and her husband, Steve Stimmerman, enjoy working in a very large garden, spending time with family and friends, and traveling. Her publications include Do Lizards Have Lips? And Other Tall Tales from Toronto, Kansas, Spice It Up, An Herbal Extravaganza, and Right to the Soul, A Journaling Guide to Recovery. Discover the heart of North Lawrence in Iris Craver's soulful poems, where everyday moments, nature, and resilience weave a rich tapestry of home. Please welcome Iris Craver.
Okay, everybody. We're kind of going through some hard times right now, huh? Right? Anyway, so my first poem that was put into the right bridge is short, and I wrote it because I think it kind of describes the way I feel a lot of the times. It's titled, We're All Fish on the Hook. Innocently going about daily goings on of living life, making a cup of coffee, running to the store for bread, showing up for work, calling the kids, doing the wash, the seemingly mundane, caught. Wiggle this way, wiggle that way, painful, acting like it's all okay. And I feel like that's like what we're all kind of doing a lot of right now, because things are not okay. So I wanted to tell you about a poem of mine that was selected for by the Poets for Peace anthology that just came out. It's called Sunflowers Rising. And all of the proceeds from this book go to orphans in Ukraine. And unfortunately, the only place you can get it is on Amazon. I'm really sorry. I tried to talk to them about it. And that's it. That's all that it is. It's on Amazon. I've been boycotting Amazon, but I did buy this off because it's going to the orphans in Ukraine. So this is the poem of mine that went into this anthology for Ukraine. It's called The Kitchen Table. Joy Harjo wonders, perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we're laughing and crying and eating of that last sweet bite. I remembered this line when I saw a photo on the news, a kitchen table still standing in a bombed out building in Mariupol, Ukraine. What was that family doing while the deafening missile blast hit? Were they sharing a last sweet bite of bread found earlier at a shop before the shelves emptied out? Were they crying in fear and anguish at the horrors inflicted by Russians nearby? Were they laughing? Laughing, you say. How could anyone laugh? Maybe when the deafening missile blast hit, they reached across the kitchen table, grabbed the hands of their loved ones, and laughed in the face of death. So anyway, this is full of some really good stuff, and it's on Amazon. Okay, and then my next very short poem is from a chapbook that is looking for a publisher. Publisher. And it's called Sometimes Life is Just Too Damn Hard. And this one is a very short poem titled TikTok Tells the Tale. I love TikTok. My daughter says I shouldn't. Okay, it's called TikTok Tells the Tale. Students on the streets denouncing genocide now. Old men's hands, greed soaked. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, you know, I thought about this, but, okay, so this is a book of poetry, my first full collection. I've had a lot of poetry published in different anthologies and so forth, but this is my first full collection. It's called Between the Tracks and the River, and it's about life in North Lawrence. Mickey published this for me. But it's not out yet. It'll be out like soon, I think. But the photos on the front and the back cover are by Patrick Emerson. They're just fabulous. Okay, so this one is kind of what I've thought about a lot. And it's called There Is No Escape. There is no escape from this land where I live. I already checked with the Canadian immigration website weeks ago before it crashed. I am eligible. I am. I could go. I am one of the privileged few that if I chose to, I could flee. And then where would I be? My family and friends left behind with stories of a grandmother in the autumn season of her life who ran away. There's no escape from this life I chose, extending myself widely and deeply, like the heritage tomatoes in our garden, creeping vines, hiding babies under the leaves, so that the next season, new ones sprout from a single seed. I choose to stay and wear an apron as my shield for this battle, pile up books to build my fortress, and use my love as a weapon of mass instruction. Right? One more, wait a second. Okay. So then the other one, how am I doing on time? Okay, so then the other one that is in the Bright Bridge book is that, you know, I still like hold on to these hopes for I have 7 grandchildren. And this one's called A Future to Believe in. The wind is blowing dust in the air, and I still dare to believe in a future where my grandbabies can know the beauty of our world, and love is unfurled, not hate, where we all have a place at the table and build bridges, not walls. And after all, where education is free and war is no more, and the water is clean and food is real food, and there's guaranteed income and work is not wage slavery, and we take care of our elders and everyone has a decent place to live, and we treat what ails rather than sending to jail, and healthcare is a right. I dream of this at night. And so the only other thing I want to say is I'm spending a lot of my time right now producing the Arc of Justice, and it's a weekly newsletter that comes out about the resistance in Kansas. And so if you'd like information about it, I've got cards, I'll pass them out. Thank you very much. Did I do it quick? Good, all of this.
They won't actually kick us out if we go over a little bit, so we're okay. Hang in there. We have one more poet in this section, and then I'm gonna call the rest of the poets forward. And the next poet I'd like to introduce is Julianne Baker Brin. Sorry. Julie is our winner for the 2024 Amity Literary Award. And that's a big deal because we get a lot of submissions for the literary award, and it's really hard to choose. We had 6 judges for the last literary award, and it was just a struggle to pick out who we were gonna select. Julie this is an annual award offered by Anamcara Press, and Julianne Baker Brin works in broadcasting, not behind a mic, but behind red tape. By night, she prefers to use the other brain hemisphere. She is an award-winning Kansas Authors Club member. In addition to the Kansas Authors Club, she's also won the Amity Award. With her work showcased in 105 Meadowlark Reader, Flying Ketchup's Night Forest, WSU's Microcosmos, and more. Please help me congratulate Julianne Baker Brin for winning the Amity Award 2024.
You're gonna make me cry. Thank you, Mickey and Amber and everyone with Anamcara Press. This has been really great. And my poetry editor is here as well, Beth Gully. You'll be hearing her momentarily. And this is very inspiring, everybody. It's always great to hear how our worlds collide and overlap and differ. And also, I really appreciate the way everyone here is building community. It's very inspiring. So, my poems, I have a very short attention span. We're on page 92 and 93 of this amazing, this is beautiful, this artwork. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So speaking of short attention span, I also have a Substack. Somebody else mentioned I'm going to follow you. And since my initials are JABB, it's Jabs Jabbering for short attention spans. That's what my Substack covers. So this is almost too late. You realize suddenly your mother was gorgeous. That never really mattered, and it still doesn't really, but it's something perhaps you should have seen sooner. Of course, as a kid, you were too busy looking at yourself in the mirror, in pictures, in plate glass windows. So many hours collected and wasted. They would end up in an estate auction of tangible, not true memories to keep, not genuine reflection. The second one is called Lumiere. I don't mind electric candles or a gas fireplace, or any attempt to contain something so wild. The flickers catch me all the same, draw me in, keep me warm, guide my way. The illumination is not an illusion. The light is still so vital, so real. And then I have to do a shameless plug for where I work. KBW.org, we have books coverage. I don't do it, I'm a lowly admin, but my brilliant coworkers do books coverage. If you want to try to get your book covered, you need to send them an advance copy like months in advance, and maybe they'll consider it. They get like 10 books a day, so, but I've got some bookmarks with that information. I'll try to remember to put them up here.
Oh, good tip. Thank you.
Yeah. I can't sure. You want to choose? So I think this is the 4th Anamcara book that I've been in, which is awesome. And okay, do we want happy or do we want sad? I can go either way. Let's do a vote. Happy or sad? I think we were going for happy there. You can pick up the other issues.
Okay.
Check out the sad ones too. This was in the summer 2023 theme of perilous and playful. It's called, When Did You First Realize You Wanted to Be a Helium Balloon? Oh, you know, my teenage years, definitely. I was so deflated. There was all this angst, heaviness, low morale. But I knew somehow in my heart, my lungs, that I was more flexible, that I could embrace lightness, breathe deeply, rise above. I could expand my horizons and maybe inspire others to do the same. I envisioned a world of multicolored beauty, everyone floating, laughing, gasping in surprise, embracing the sky.
And engage in one more switch out, and while we invite a few more poets to come up and read for us, the last section of our group here. Can I get Boyd Bowman, Hannah Castillo, Brian Beldor, Thaddeus Dugan, Beth Gully, and Barbara Longo-Peters. This is a quick last section. It's nice and cool in here too, that we don't have to be in a hurry to go outside. No, this is. Don't worry about order. Now for our final section, I'm going to ask our poets to go ahead and introduce themselves right before they read their poetry. And so let's go ahead and start on this end with Thaddeus Dugan.
Hey, my name is Thad Dugan, and I'm an American poet. I was editor-in-chief of Inkscape. I'm getting ready to graduate from Washburn with my English and philosophy degrees, and I don't know, I'm semi-retired. Writing my second book, I have a book out through Anamcara Press. So I'm like really interested in like contrast and juxtaposition. You know, I've got this poem. It's kind of about stalking, but it's like written in such beautiful language that you just don't really notice the theme, but it's kind of sinister if you really look at it and think about it. It's in this White Bridge. It's called Reasons for My Discontent. A shadow behind blinded windows, darkness that I once held easy, plans that hesitate apart. Now, no longer, I embrace a furtive smile addressed to another with breath of whispers I once possessed, echoes of words lost in reflection. I wish I knew you sooner. I wish I never knew you. Clash unaware of the hectic still in the liaison of your absence. I also I got in this big thing when I was going to write third person a lot, you know, so I'm like infatuated with third person singular verb. It's like, why would a third person singular verb have an S inflectional ending on it? You know, it's like, well, what's going on here? But it serves its purpose. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I believe Shakespeare kind of introduced it. I think I learned that in linguistics. This is called How to Capture the Wind. The night brings its distance with it, and a collection of hints skiff across the surface of her skin, a byproduct of benefits. And the way she moves verges on the urge of superfluous. But somehow she captures the wind and sends it off again through his hair. And she is as elusive as the moving air when she says, "You can have it all." He balks at this with a clinch of feelings that conflict with his very existence. A Molotov cocktail in a pretty dress, where gas waits to be lit at its essence. A gem on the cover, dusted ashes within. A descent down into a sarcophagus. And all of this sounds perfect to him. He traces the current of the wind down the hem of her magnificence and says, Who am I to contend with how the wind behaves? And who am I to pretend I could capture it, if only for a day?
And Beth Gully,
So we just reading one from the book or?
or you can read more, you can read 3.
Yeah,
My name is Beth Gully, and I have a book with Anamcara Press called Frog Joy. And I am going to read my poem from the book and one other poem. I'm going to find it really quickly. So if you're following along, as I was with people reading fiction and nonfiction, I'm on page 88, which is kind of fun. 17 magazine. In the high school library, we scoured back issues of 17 magazine instead of reading Shakespeare. The glossy pages show tall, thin girls walking through Paris or running over the beach. They never speak. They never get rejected. They never have cellulite. If we bothered with Shakespeare, we would have noticed all the lines for girls were intended to be said by men. The love-struck Juliet, the weak Ophelia, would later be reimagined to match 21st century thoughts about women. But in 1991, we were 17-year-old girls looking for ideals, but forging our own way. And then pre-dawn trail run. He says it's okay to run before sunup. How else will we get enough miles, busy parents that we are? Headlamps, the moon, they seem bright enough. The path is clear. So is the yellow fur of the mountain lion. We back up behind a tree, hold our breath, count to 100, consider what to do if it turns around. Lucky for us, it saunters off in the direction of the Boy Scout camp. Next week, we wait until sunrise to run.
Barbara Waterman Peters.
Hi, everyone. I am, an artist and a writer. Some of my paintings are pictured in the new Wright Bridge. But I would like to read my poem called Painting, and I submitted it because painting is creating an illusion. I covered the rock of ancient caves, told the story of mystic hunts, graced the walls of plundered tombs, witnessed Pompeii's violent doom. Books of hours, scrolls of lamb, woven reed, colors bright with henna and gall, recorded prayer and bravest deed, saved for human need or soul. Wooden panel, plastered wall, priceless scenes of life and myth, told well, told all. Brilliant hues, magic forms, wonders press against the eye, light in darkest hall. Images speak of the scourge of God's wrath, the strength and terror of Zeus. Lessons on the spiritual path for those whose morals are somewhat loose. Susanna, Diana, Potiphar's wife, they all look great on my canvas. Tales and woes and those of the elders cover my surface in large masses. Troubles and labor of a peasant, poverty, famine, wars, and the plague, with others just as unpleasant. Strange the things for which they are paid. Portraits abound of kings and their queens, cloth of gold and starchy lace, bejeweled necklaces, diamond rings, and every conceivable face. My creators when emperors too, Napoleon's glory David shows. Gainsborough mocks Reynolds with boy blue, Van Gogh ends with crows. I am painting, I am not dead yet, though my breath is weak as the isms crowd around my bed, hedging their bets, wringing their hands, pulling up my shroud. Ab ex, surreal, magic and post, my meaning is lost in Kant's theory that painting is flat, and at the most an overdue death, lifeless and weary. But watch out for me, I'm on the rise. I'm better than ever with Kiefer, Nerdrum, and Couch. It's no surprise, Mitchell, Seville, and Flack, artists like them. I'm coming through darkness into light. The human condition, ever new, entices artists to take up the fight, to give me my hierarchical due. Thank you.
Yes, watch out for Barbara Waterman Peters. Her artwork is out there, and it is wonderful to look at and to enjoy in other ways. I'd like to also introduce Hannah Caicedo. Hannah Caicedo, thank you for correcting me. I did that very badly. Please welcome Hannah Caicedo.
Hannah's our youngest contributor. Sorry, I had to say that. I love that you submitted.
Yeah, I was just looking for any place that would publish me.
We'll be that.
So I'm a junior at K-State, and I'm a philosophy major, and I really decided to be a philosophy major because of my poetry, especially because you guys published me, so thank you. My first poem is Crystal Blue. The feeling settles, nothing new, my mind spins a dizzy hue. Velvet night drapes thick and deep, its shadows closing, swallowing me. The stars are distant, pale and stark, cold and faded, a dying spark, embattled stillness vast and deep, slides and slow where sorrow sleeps. Alone I stare with hollow view, its beauty stark, but built for two, and yet it waits for what's not there, for someone else to breathe the air. And so I dive into the crystal water, a midnight plunge, a lover's slaughter, the icy depths like glass unfold, their silent grip both dark and cold. The stars above, a fractured gleam, blur in waves, dissolve in stream, while shadows curl in cascading grace to pull me to their hollowed place. I sink beneath in whispered thrall, where secrets drift and voices call. Where dreams return, the world above, a ghostly shore, where dreams return to me no more. Through shadowed depths I slip unseen, a phantom lost in twilight's sheen. For here, alone, the world is too true, a crystal grave for lovers too. And then thank you. And then the second poem is called The Void. In twilight's grip, both vast and sheer, a whispered call, come near, come near. The cliff, a shadow, ghostly peer, drew me entranced to venture near. The air was thick with haunting sound, a pool so deep my soul unwound. Step closer now, its calls resound, my legs are weak and feet are bound. Closer, my mind is spinning now. I can feel its spell, a whispered vow. Come closer, a pitch, I'm falling now. And yet, alas, my feet are ground. The edge, the wind is ripping ground. My heart is racing, I'm hurtling down. You're falling, yes, a roaring sound. My eyes are closing, impact, now. They open, my feet are firmly ground. You don't wonder? Yes, I wonder now.
Marvelous upcoming poet. Now I'd like to introduce Brian Dolder.
Thank you, Mickey and Amber and everybody involved with the Right Bridge. I just always look forward to this coming out and seeing who's in there. And there have just been some wonderful voices tonight, so thank you all for being a part of this. I've got two poems in this Right Bridge, and I'll read them both. The first one is kind of personal, and the second one is sort of historical, political. The first one is called The Darkness. When I was a boy, I couldn't resist going out to that quarry pit, past all the red danger signs. I'd wriggle in through holes in the barbed wire fence. At dusk, I'd feel the night spreading outside and in me, and I wanted it to fill me up. I had cigarettes, vodka, 1,000 songs in my head. I'd sit at the edge of Death's Head Cliff, and it wasn't Smirnoff or Marlborough that flooded my head. It was the darkness rushing into me, as though I'd heard my calling. A few inches from death was exactly where I should be. And the second one is, it's really a prose poem, and it's called The Strong Man. And it might seem like it's about something contemporary, but it was actually from the Gabriel Garcia Marquez novel, Nobody Writes to the Colonel, I think it's called. And it's about a kind of strongman, dictator type of figure in a South American country, but he's really rather a sort of pathetic figure, on the inside. And so that's what it was based on. And it just fitted with the theme for this Right Bridge, because you had the ideal of the strongman, but really that's just an illusion. He's just this kind of weak figure. So it's called The Strongman. It's on page 118 if you're looking at the journal. The Strongman. At rallies, they shake my hand. Keep us safe, General. Keep us safe and we will love you. We don't care how you do it. Do what's necessary. They're scared of guerrilla fighters who'd kill them and help themselves to everything, who'd carry off their women and children. They believe that I'm the only one who can stop them. I am your humble servant, I tell the huge crowd. I will do what you bid me to do. I send my troops into the jungle to root out insurgents, to destroy their camps and training grounds. But my soldiers are peasants, stupid and poorly equipped. Some of them desert and slide back to their villages. Some of them are so scared they kill anyone they come across and help themselves to the spoils of war. Most of the time I keep the insurgents out of our towns and cities, and my people cheer me and say, "You are a strong man, General. We need your strength." But there's this burning in my stomach again after I eat even the blandest food, and the dizziness at night, especially when I'm tired. My doctor says I must have an operation. Most men are up from it in a few days. He thinks I will be displeased if he gives me bad news. Reports of a suicide bombing in a southern city, an attack on a police headquarters in the east, my Minister of Defense funneling government money into his own accounts, my mistress telling me her husband beats her, and what am I supposed to do about that? That's a strong man. Thank you.
And our last poet for this evening and our last reader, Boyd Bowman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mickey and Amber. Appreciate this. So I'm closing the show, it looks like. I'm Boyd, I'm from a small town in Kansas. I lived in Japan and taught English there for a few years. So this poem comes out of that experience. I did a Zen retreat, several actually, but one weekend, they took us out on the first night of the weekend on a Friday night. The rain was coming down. We were at the edge of this forest. The wood smell from the temple was just exuded from the rainfall. It was just this exquisite experience of this sensory overload, a transcendent experience for me. I remember some incidents the rest of the weekend where the monks would tell us that the world is an illusion. All our senses deceive us, and the world's an illusion. And I spent my life trying to reconcile that, the illusion of the world and our senses, and how exquisite our reactions are to the world and its wonders, and how much of that is real and how much is an illusion. So this is called Sense Divine, and a gaijin is a foreigner. Sense Divine. Orient yourself. Shinshoji Zen Buddhist Temple, Eastern Hiroshima Prefecture, Friday night of a weekend retreat. A small group of gaijin are led by a monk to a meditation hall at the edge of a bamboo forest. Center your being. Zazen, meditation on a wooden porch, peering into the unknown depths of the dark forest shadow play. Inhale. Rain traipsing on the awning above invokes every cypress plank from the ancient wooden complex to exude a sweet sylvan smell that dances with the incense burning within, through acute olfactory to synapses on the cusp of perceiving a wisp of the esoteric divine. Awaken. By the glare of the following morning, the master verbalizes the lessons. The world is illusion, where senses deceive. Empty yourself. Embrace nothing but the absence of the divine. Meditate on this. All these years later, rain still awakens me, summons me to a wooden porch, where I breathe in the mixture of memory and mystery this fair earth exudes, my muddy conduit to divine. All these years later, I'm still in love with something I can only sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Boyd, for the perfect ending reading for this session. Greatly appreciated. Thank you all for coming and enjoying these readings. Take a few minutes to meet Jesse and Carrie and Iris and Conlon. They've got books at the table over here. There's still snacks over there. We still have a couple more minutes, so please mingle a little bit, and we'll see you for the next journal. Thanks for coming. Thank you so much.
Going out.
Well, we're